Going to have a quick look at Sonnet 116. I'm going to read it through first and then very quickly go through just some of the ideas in the poem. First of all, let's have a look at the poem. Let me not to the marriage of true minds admit impediments. Love is not love which alters when it alteration finds, or bends with a remover to remove. Oh no, it is an ever fixed mark that looks on tempest and is never shaken. It is the star to every wandering bark whose worth's unknown, although his height be taken. Love's not time's fool, though rosy lips and cheeks within his bending sickle's compass come. Love alters not with his brief hours and weeks, but bears it out even to the edge of doom. If this be error and upon me proved, I never writ, nor no man ever loved. Now this is a sonnet by Shakespeare, and a sonnet is a traditional form for a love poem, and a sonnet usually has 14 lines, which are quite often broken into either 4 movements. So you can see here I've broken the poem up into 4 distinctive parts, and each of those parts is almost an idea that Shakespeare puts forward. So let's have a look at the first of the 4 parts. Now Shakespeare starts off by saying, let me not to the marriage of true minds admit impediments. So he talks about this idea of the marriage of true minds, and that's a bit like the idea of having a sort of a soulmate. You know, someone who is your true love. You know, there's that idea that out there for everyone there is your spiritual soulmate, the person who is your true love that you're going to discover. And Shakespeare says that if you truly love someone, and there is this marriage of true minds, this marriage of souls that comes together when you really love someone, if you truly love someone, then there will be no impediments. So nothing will get in the way of true love. And then he says that love is not love which alters when it alteration finds. So if you notice, he repeats words. So he says love is not love which alters when it alteration finds. So he's saying that true love really isn't true love if the first thing that comes along causes people to fall out of love or to change their feelings for each other. And he says that love is not love that bends with the remover to remove. So you can see he uses these repetition of words to effectively say that if someone falls out of love, so if someone falls out of love, it was never true love in the first place. He then develops the point. So this is the first idea he puts forward. Then in the second part of the sonnet, he's quite emphatic. Yeah, he cries out at the beginning, "Oh no!" He's absolutely sure. That shows his real passion. He believes passionately that true love lasts forever. He says it's an ever fixed mark. So love is something that will never change. It's permanent, it's static, it will never alter. It's something that will endure forever. And he says that love looks on tempests and is never shaken. And a tempest, I'm sure you know from probably reading The Tempest earlier in school, the tempest is a terrible storm. So Shakespeare is saying that if you have even a terrible storm, something awful that happens in your life, perhaps you have a massive row, or one of you does something that the other one doesn't like, then even if those things happen, love remains. True love will never change. He then says, and he uses a metaphor, he says, it is the star to every wandering bark. I'm going to put a circle around the word star because that's the metaphor really that he uses to sort of characterise love, to describe it. And he says that it's the star to every wandering bark. Now bark is an old-fashioned word for a wooden ship. So he imagines, he's using imagery to say that love is like a star that guides ships. It's like something that in your life, love is the point that really gives you the direction, the purpose of your life. So if we were to summarise what he's saying there, is that he insists that love is something permanent. It guides your life. So you can see, if we're looking at how he develops the poem, he starts from the beginning point of just saying that love doesn't change in his opinion, and then he develops it a second step by saying, or second point, by saying, no, it is constant, it's fixed, it's permanent. He then develops the point again, and he says that love's not time's full. And what he means by that is that love really isn't destroyed by time. Quite often people, as they grow older, they fall out of love. Or it could be that the person who you thought was beautiful or handsome when you were young, as you get older, they start to become less attractive, perhaps even ugly to you. And he says that true love isn't time's full. And this is this sort of wonderful sort of metaphor, almost like a personification. So it's not time's full. Love will not be destroyed by time, or it's not going to be made to be idiotic by time. He does say though that although rosy lips and cheeks within his bending sickle compass comes, so he does say that people do get older. Beautiful women will lose their rosy lips. They're going to lose their beautiful complexion. They're going to get old. They do become part of time's sickle. And this is the idea of time being personified. The idea of death being like the Grim Reaper, someone with a scythe, like a big knife on the end of a stick that cuts down life. He's saying that time does make people grow older. It does make people less attractive. But love alters not with time. And it bears out even to the edge of doom. So the idea is that if you really do love someone, as you grow older, even if they become less physically attractive, you still truly love them, even to the end of the world, even to the end of time. And if you're religious and you believe that perhaps there's an afterlife, the idea is that even in an afterlife, you will still love them forever. It's quite a very positive view of love. And we'll see this later in another poem called Remember by Rossetti. So you can see how the poem's built up, and I'll just recap. He starts by saying that soulmates, true love doesn't change. He says that love is permanent and fixed, and he says that time doesn't change love. So we just summarise this, and he says that time and aging does not affect love. And then there's a final rhyming couplet in the poem. And a rhyming couplet is when two lines go together and they have a similar, they have a rhyme at the end. So in this one, Shakespeare's final point is, if this be error and upon me proved, I never writ, nor no man ever loved. And what he's trying to say is that if he's wrong, if this is an error, his view of love, if he's wrong about love being permanent and can be proved, someone can prove to him that true love isn't permanent and lasts forever, he then says, I never writ. So as Shakespeare, all the things that he wrote about love as Shakespeare mean nothing. And then he says, nor no man ever loved. And what he's saying is that if love is not permanent, then love really doesn't exist, because he believes that true love is permanent. So in this final point, he just says, he finally argues that if he is wrong, there is no such thing as true love. So you can see that the sonnet puts forward an argument in 4 stages. And I'll just again recap, just to make it clear. In the first part of the poem, Let Me Not, he says that love will not ever alter. If someone falls out of love, it wasn't true love in the first place. He then develops it. So the next part, the structure of the poem, is that he says that he insists that love is something that guides your life, like a star. He then develops it a further point, and he says that time and aging doesn't affect love. And then finally he insists that if he's wrong about this, if he's wrong about his belief in true love, then true love doesn't exist. And the whole purpose of this poem is for Shakespeare to convince the person that he's in love with of how true his love is and how it will last forever.